Now, this is really interesting. In an area of public debate dominated so often now by big voices from the woke left, it's no surprise that people often vastly overestimate the size of minority groups. When asked by polling company YouGov what percentage of people in the UK are transgender, on average, Britons put that at about 5%. Many times the actual reality of 0.3 to 0.7%. So less than 1% all up in the UK are transgender. When polled on the number of black citizens in the UK, people thought the number was something like 20%, rather than the actual number of 3%. That there was 15% of Britons were Muslim, they thought, no, 4%. And that even 20% of Brits were vegan or vegetarian, but in fact that's only 4%. Joining me now to discuss this and more, former Deputy Prime Minister John Anderson and columnist for The Australian, Dr Jennifer Oriel. Well, John, this proves that it's not just the big voices that are dominating the public debate, it's how important people rate issues of identity, and it's a long way from reality.
Well, it's very divisive. Identity politics always is. And it's not unusual. I mean, we know here in Australia that you get the same problem of the constant drip feed, even the weaponisation of feelings and emotions and what have you, so that 50% of Australians think we contribute 10 to 20% of global emissions when it's only 1.1%. I guess the shorthand sort of comment that I would make is a favourite mantra of mine. You cannot get good public policy without a high quality debate, and you'll never have a high quality debate until you agree the facts and you actually work with the cards that you have in your hand, not the cards that you'd like to have. And you've got a left-wing or a progressive media that is way out of kilter with where the ordinary world is, that are playing on the field rather than reporting on it.
Jennifer, I completely agree with what John said. You know, the facts do matter, but I think the problem has been that the right, the centre-right, the sensible centre-right, they've vacated the field. So even when there is no facts on the table and the left are pushing what we're seeing out of that UK poll, they're pushing their messages. There's no one to contest them. We saw with the Morrison government on a lot of the big issues, the ministers weren't on the field pushing back and putting facts on the table.
Well, we're seeing here really a continuation or a legacy of the New Left from the 1960s. And in 1965, I wrote about this recently in a book called Cancel Culture and the Left's Long March. And we see here a legacy of Herbert Marcuse, who was a brilliant theorist of New Left thought in the 1960s and 70s. And he wrote about a plan or a stratagem to engineer the overrepresentation of groups favoured by the left, groups that tended to vote for the left, and who would comprise a new proletariat revolutionary class, because the left wing or the working class tended to be not revolutionary enough anymore. And part of this aim was to really sideline conservative thinkers, not by a majority democracy, not by fair means, but by having more, not equal, representation of the left in public life. And he talked about radical minorities, creating radical minorities to become very, very dominant in public life, and to really, what we might call, drown out conservatives and the political right, who he regarded as the New Left's chief enemies in the field. So when we see very few conservatives now speaking, it's because that term is continually demonised, political right continually demonised. And it's just been part of the fabric of the New Left, the minoritarian left, since the 1960s, 1970s. So it's really a fabric of left-wing thought now, and you can't get rid of it without really a revolution on the left.